Benvenuto, and welcome to this year's West Virginia Italian Heritage Festival Authors Forum via Zoom. I had no idea last year when we were doing via Zoom that we'd be at this again this year. Actually, last year we did these t-shirts, and then this one says eating my pasta at home this year. So I thought, well, it's appropriate to wear again for this year, right? I'm Diana Pishner Walker, co-chair of this event, along with my brother, Stephen Pishner. Before we begin our presentations, I'd like to thank a few people. First of all, James and Law Company for sponsoring this event, and Nancy Brown. And also thanks to Julia Todd, director of the Clarksburg Harrison Library, for all of her help with the forum and support. Even though we were not able to hold this event at the library as planned this year, she's still been very helpful throughout the year in making plans. So thank you, Julia. I know you can't probably talk back, but I hope you can hear me. We have 4 authors today who will be presenting their work. And this year, first time ever, we branched out a little bit, not just to include book authors, but we have a magazine editor. And for the first time ever, a student who's going to present some poetry, and a artist who has gone to the dark side with the rest of us and become an author. My brother has also agreed to play a little music for us this year. So I consider someone who writes lyrics an author writer as well, and I'm sure the rest of you do too. So at this point, we will just welcome Stephen to do a little music for us.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Welcome to this new portion of the Authors Forum with a little bit of a music component. I did not write this song that's over 100 years old, but I just thought some Italian music to flavor today, being that we can't be at the festival, might be something that we might want to consider. So this song is called O Sole Mio. Che bella cosa, un'aria nata sole, un'aria serena, dopo una tempesta, nell'aria fresca, reggiana festa. Che bella cosa una giornata di sole, mannato sole, più bello è. O sole mio, stan pronti a te. O sole mio, stan pronti a te, stan pronti a te. O sole mio, stan pronti a te. Stai pronti a te.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
I wish I could say I taught him how to do that, but I take no credit in that one. Presenters this year are Mr. Miles Fisher, editor of the National Sons of Italy magazine and an upcoming novelist, who will be coming to you from Washington, D.C. Mr. Dean Skinner, who you all know as a gifted artist, now taking on the title of an author and living in Cleveland. And a young student and poet, Mr. Evan Leber, coming to you from Martinsburg, West Virginia. I will also be presenting, on behalf of many authors, a collaborated effort entitled The Voices of the Pandemic. And there's that. And at this point, I'd like to take a few minutes to thank the West Virginia Italian Heritage Festival for allowing this program to proceed this year, and especially to Benjamin DeFazio. Benjamin has been who I text, call, message any hour of the day and night when I have a question or need help with any of this for the form. I mean, there have been some midnight Facebook chats. Benjamin, I appreciate all of your help.
That's when I work best, Diana.
And I would look on there and say, oh, he's on there. Okay. Hey, Benjamin, let's do this. Also, I'm hoping, Benjamin, you will be reading any comments or questions from the audience today.
Yes, I will. I'm going to keep track of the chat. I'm going to keep track of anyone coming in and add them. And I have muted everyone just to give the authors the floor for that. But as we did last year, and I think we're following the same format, if you all have a question and would like to ask something, we can definitely unmute your microphone. We are definitely encouraging any interaction we can get. That's what we're all craving, I'm sure. So we want you all to turn those videos on, and we can turn your mics on if you want to interact with the authors and ask those questions. And there will be time to do that. Just let me know if you want to be doing that.
Thank you. At this point, Miles, it's going to be your turn. Mr. Miles Ryan Fisher is the editor-in-chief of Italian American Magazine, the official publication of the Order of Sons and Daughters of Italy in America. He's worked in this position for the past 6 years and has written numerous feature articles, including the one about the Monongah mine disaster. Miles was nice enough to send us some copies of that particular issue, so we'll find a way to get those to you if you're interested in them after we're done speaking today. Born and raised in the suburbs of Philadelphia and now lives in Tacoma Park, Maryland. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree from Cornell University's Industrial and Labor Relations and a Master of Arts in Writing from Johns Hopkins University. In addition to his work, he spent some of his free time on other writing projects. He's had fiction published in several literary journals and published in several periodicals. Recently, he completed a novel, which I'm excited about, titled A Different Kind of Gentle, which will be released later this year. Find some of his work, including his feature on the Monongah mine disaster at www.milesryanfisher.com. And maybe we can get that link in the comments as well. Miles has also been kind enough to help me out with a few things. We are working on an upcoming project. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about that or yet.
Sure.
Not yet, Miles, but I'll leave that one up to you.
Okay.
And also he's put a little blurb on the back of one of my children's books. So Miles, I appreciate your help, and hopefully I can be of help to you in the near future. So whenever you're ready, let us hear from you.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is very special. And I'll show you the copy of the magazine. This is what it looks like. It goes out to all of the members of the Order, Sons and Daughters of Italy in America, along with individual subscribers. And every issue is like its own adventure. You get a lot of great articles submitted to the magazine, lots of freelance authors that contribute wonderful features. So each issue is something that I enjoy reading as much as I enjoy working on it. And the Monongah mine disaster, especially for this crowd, I sent some magazines in, as Diana said, and I looked through the office, and I'm keeping those magazines on reserve for you guys for next year as well.
Thank you.
Because it's a very, very important feature, and it was a long time coming. If you caught in my bio, my undergrad is industrial and labor relations. So when I found out about the mine disaster, I had a pretty good knowledge of everything that coal miners went through. Something that has given rise to the labor laws that we have today and enjoy today, things that they had to suffer through in order for our society to get here. And that mine disaster is a particular time in our nation's history, a very sad time that gave rise to the standards that we have set today. And a lot paid the ultimate sacrifice. And I don't think that something like that can be recognized enough. And it was a very important feature to write about. And on my website, Diana said you can find the article on milesryanfisher.com. I have certain select features that I've written in the past that are very important to me for one reason or another. And that's one of the, I think there might be 9 on there. That's one of the 9 that I chose. And yeah, and like Diana said, I've been working on a novel, and that's been quite a process. I worked on it for a long time, and now I'm working on the other end of publishing it and seeing what I can do along those lines. And the novel is titled A Different Kind of Gentle. Diana said it'll be available later this year, but it'll probably be, I'm thinking maybe more toward next year, as I figure out exactly how it'll get released. But if anybody has any questions for me about the process with the magazine, anything to do with writing, anything about my personal experience, I should add that my last name Fisher doesn't sound Italian. I get that all the time.
Mhm.
It doesn't sound Italian, and I'm like, I have a mother, but they can't see that on the phone when I talk to them. They can't see I'm using my hands. I have a mother, and my mother's maiden name is Dano. She's from upstate New York, Ithaca, New York. So that's where my Italian and my dark complexion comes from. So when I stand next to my mom, you'll know that I'm hers. In spite of my older sisters trying to convince me that I've switched at birth that didn't
Well, that's something we have a little bit in common.
connect to me. People know you're mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. That's something we kind of have in common. Our last name is Pishner, and at one point it was Piscanero. Is that right, Stephen? I think that I'm pronouncing it right. And everyone says you're not Italian. That's not Italian. And we tell my brother that he was switched at birth as well. So that's 2 things we have in common.
So let me join this conversation with the last name Skinner. So
Yeah,
Go ahead, Dino. Dino's got a great one. Go ahead, Dino.
yeah, so my last name's Skinner. I get that all the time too, Miles. Like, Skinner, that's not Italian.
Mhm.
My grandfather, my dad's father, came over from Italy, broke hardly any English. He was a metal skinner. He would take metal and throw it in the furnace. So his checks, his John Skinner. So that's how we got the name Skinner. So my real name should be Dino Terranova, which is such an awesome Italian name, but it's Dean Skinner.
Oh, so
Which is the same name
the
for
occupation.
I'm sorry, Miles.
Yours was changed based on the occupation that
Yep.
he had when he came over here.
Yep.
Wow, I have not heard that. Now, Diana, I have heard of names just being changed completely, but not in accordance with occupation. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Stephen can probably chime in on that a little bit.
Yeah, well, our name was Pishoneri, Piscioneri. And so then from Pishoneri went to Pishner, and our mother's last name was Alessio, went from 1 L and 2 S's to 2 L's and 2 S's. Which that's like saying Smith from where we come from, but the way you find out who was whom is not even by the names, it's by the nicknames of the family based on what they did as a talent or a trade.
Yeah. One interesting thing that I read, and I can't verify this, but that the misspellings of names actually occurred when they were embarking on the voyage. Say in Naples, Naples was a common port to leave from, and then through France and over, as opposed to what is generally thought Ellis Island, and then misspelling them on Ellis Island. I have read that. I found that fascinating. But then you have your case of Pishner, which was Americanized, totally Americanized, which I imagine would have happened here. But Dean, I have not heard that story yet.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating because it's fascinating to think of where your last name comes from. My mom's maiden name Dano. You would actually pronounce it Daino if you're phonetically in Italian. And it means follow deer. And I've done some research.
And now the deer are following you, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there were deer right 5 feet away. I'm like, I'm one of you. And it, from what I gather, it's possible that my ancestors would have been hunters. That's possibly, they said, the last name could have been derivative out of hunting. Obviously, my last name Fisher, I guess my ancestors on that's from a German side. I have German and Irish on my dad's side, and then that mixed with my mom's Italian side, and then you have me. So I guess that's I would have been fishermen, but it didn't. They certainly didn't pass down the skill to me. Either that, or they're very disappointed in me for my performance.
Miles, I have a question for you.
Hmm?
I know you said you've been at the magazine for about 6 years, right? Were you there prior to being an editor?
No, I started, I took over for the prior editor, Donna DeSanctis, who was around for about 12 or 13 years. And she took me through, she was just absolutely wonderful. She's been one of my biggest champions in my foray into the writing world, both personally and professionally. Mm-hmm. And she took me through the first issue together. And everything that goes into an issue of a magazine is extraordinary. And I wouldn't have been able to even come close to producing any issue of the magazine without her and her expertise in showing me exactly what you have to do for every page, the preparation involved, especially the organization. Because unfortunately, I don't have a big staff like the New Yorker, or, some magazine like that. I rely a lot on outside writers, submissions that are people who come up with great ideas, great stories, and they can come from anywhere and everywhere. One of my favorite experiences with this job is a lady submitted a story about, and she told me it's a story about my grandmother's knife. The article's title was Known as Knife, and it's about her knife and how I just can't seem to part with it. And my first reaction to just reading the premise was, all right, let's see how this goes about your grandmother's knife you can't part with. I read it. It's one of my favorite features that has ever run, as I've been around, under my watch at least, in 6 years. The writing itself, Known as Knife, the writing itself, it will show you how you can take any subject and make it entertaining and interesting. And it was just, I was blown away. The moment I read it, I was immediately on my emailing her back. Yes, absolutely. This will be awesome to run. So nice. You never know where it's going to come from.
Right. And touch on a little bit about the page that you do where you tell about different authors from different points of the country, like you kind of promote their work as well.
Oh, sure. So we have a speakers bureau where we promote authors all across the country. And it's important because we do get a lot of books submitted for potential review. We can only, review a couple at a time, but there are lots of great books that come through here, and the Speakers Bureau page especially gives attention to all authors, those that have submitted any works and what their book's a little bit about and a little bit about their background. And then if you go on osia.org, you can go to, there's a tab called Sons of Italy Book Club, and you can go down and see all of the authors that are members of the organization, and most of the books are related to Italian heritage, and there are lots of fantastic ones on there. And like I said, we can only review 2 specific ones every issue. And, I'm not the end all be all judge of any book, every book. There will be topics that, wouldn't appeal to me that would appeal to you, that would appeal to others.
Right.
Certain ones that appeal to me that others couldn't care less about. And that's the beauty about the book world. There's something for everybody.
That's a good resource for, the authors forum for us to contact different authors, like the one we spoke about earlier. I want to contact for next year.
Mhm.
That's a great resource for not just Italian American authors, but just authors in general.
Mhm.
Right. Benjamin, do you see any other questions or comments for Miles?
We didn't have any for Miles. I went ahead and made a note of the Sons of Italy Book Club website in there. And then Julia had a little note for you that she,
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and unmute her so she can tell a little bit on that story.
Okay. Julia is the director of our local library in Clarksburg. Julia?
Well, I put, you all were talking about the name change. I came from a full Italian and full Spanish background. My maiden name was Serafini from the Serafinis in Clarksburg. And I used to laugh and tell my late husband, you married me because you loved me. I said, no, people couldn't pronounce Serafini, so I married a dog.
He's a good man.
Yeah. he really
Very
was.
good man. Thanks, Julia.
You're welcome.
Now, Diana, I should mention that you'll be on Order Sons. So Order Sons and Daughters of Italy and America has a Facebook Live series. We do about 9 to 12 episodes in the spring and in the fall. And one of the traditions that we have with it, we're going into our 4th season. One of the traditions we have is we have Adriana Trigiani come on and she hosts one of the episodes. And it's, as you can imagine, it's a blast. Anyone who knows Adriana knows she gushes personality. I get on there as a co-host, but I don't really co-host. I think I referred to as eye candy last time, which was I'll take it. Take what I can get. But Adriana is coming on November 10th. She has produced a children's book that's coming out in December. And I thought, oh, this would be great. Let's do an Italian American children's author segment. And so we have Diana and we have a nice lady in Alabama, an Italian American lady in Alabama named Barbara. So you might get an Italian American with a nice thick Southern accent on there, who wrote also a children's book called Let's Eat Snails. Let's Eat Snails. It's fantastic. And so Diana and Barbara are going to be on with Adriana, and everyone should tune in. It's a blast when Adriana gets on.
Miles said, should I get where, I might get a third author to speak. He said, what do you think? And I said, between Adriana and me, I said, that'll be 3 hours right there. You won't get a word in. But I appreciate and you asking me to do that, and really looking forward to that segment and meeting her. And she's someone I've looked up to with her writing for a long time.
Yeah,
So,
she's remarkable in the writing community at large, but especially for Italian Americans and Italian American stories. And I mean, what you do with children's books are such a great way to communicate messages, especially within ethnicity. And I mean, the obvious one that kind of was one of the first was Strega Nona and Tommy DePaula. And, he in his way paved the way for it to be acceptable for Italian American authors to write children's novels that were layered in Italian culture.
True.
And he had really interesting things to say about the process he had to go through in the 1970s when he came out with this Calabrian grandmother witch, Strega Nona, grandma witch, and what he had to do with his, in terms of fighting to keep his material authentic in the face of editors that wanted to change it a little bit, to mainstream it a little bit, because it wasn't quite mainstream that movie. But now, it's much more a part of the fabric of accepted culture, and it's beautiful.
And we were fortunate enough to have Tommy as a guest a couple years ago. The year right before he passed, he was a guest at the forum.
Oh,
He
yeah.
came to us via satellite, Skype, I think we did with him. That was,
Yeah,
that
must
just
have
tickled
been-
everybody
that
that
must
year.
Excellent, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of speaking with him once, and he was very, very jolly guy. Kind
Mhm.
of Santa-like, if you will.
Right,
Very
right.
kind and jovial, and but yeah, I think children's book authors play a special role in our culture, especially with children, because they're the next generation. They're the ones coming up that will perceive
Right.
the in a different way than we grew up perceiving it, or we perceive it as we get older. And I think children's book authors probably have a lot more impact than they're given credit for. We love to look at older novelists, but yeah, I mean, everybody remembers the books that they grew up reading as children.
Right.
Then when you have children yourself, you start seeing how those books have changed in little
Mhm.
ways.
Yeah, and
and
the
it
stories
changed.
change a little bit.
Very good change. Yeah.
Right. Well, Miles, I appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much. I know
Thanks for having me.
this was taking a lot out of your day to be with us, and we
Oh, it's
appreciate it.
fine.
Hopefully next year we can see you on the streets of the Italian festival.
That
Maybe
would
a
be
couple
amazing.
cannolis, you know.
That would be amazing. And I'll have my wife sitting right next to me with her guitar, and she can play
Yes.
a song that she wrote called Olive Tree in Italy.
Maybe we can get her up there with you, Amici. Steve, you hear that?
Got it.
Thank you so much again for being with us. And I think we'll go ahead and move on. We spoke all about children's books, but we do have a very special little guy with us today that wants to give a presentation. First time we've ever had a student and a young adult with us. His name is Evan Leber. He is a 12-year-old budding writer. I think mom says that. Generations of gifted Italian artists called to the United States to paint frescoes and murals are Evan's ancestors. He is just beginning to learn their amazing stories. He enjoys spending time with family and friends, old school video games, creating impromptu song lyrics, and learning about programming and graphic design. He lives at home with his parents, his younger brother, and 2 cats. He has attended public and private school and began homeschooling this year as a 7th grader. In kindergarten, Evan's teacher worked with him to create his first short story about a bunny. So Evan, we have that in common. All my books are about bunnies. As a 2nd grader, he was selected by his teacher and principal to have lunch with our poet laureate of West Virginia, Mr. Mark Harshman. As part of assignments in his private school years, Evan has written book reviews, poems, short stories, and dialogues for plays. This event is Evan's first experience reading his work in public and hopefully the beginning of a lifelong adventure. Sharing his first and soon to be published poem and a new piece about his proud Italian heritage, Evan is excited to be a part of the West Virginia Italian Heritage Authors Forum this year. Evan, if you're ready, we're ready to listen to your poems.
Okay, thank you. Well, first I want to say it's a huge honor to be here. So I'm Evan Leber. I'm a Scorpio, but I'm nothing like the astrological stereotype.
I'm a Scorpio.
Yeah, so most of my ancestors on my dad's side are very Italian. So I'm gonna read this pamphlet about facts and data on one of my ancestors. His name is Guido Leber. Thank you, Mr. Skinner. So it says here, Guido Leber was born in Socio di Lessa, Lago Maggiore, Italy, on May 20, 1857. Socio is north of Milan. Guido's father was Pietro, also a great artist. His mother was Martina Leber. His siblings were Martina, Charles, Constantine, Fred, and Americus. His parents were of modest wealth, owning their own home and farm at Socio. Guido spent his youth working with his father and going to school in Socio. He attended the Accademia di Brera of Art in Milan, graduating with letters of honor. He made several trips from Italy to America for the purpose of painting portraits, murals, and frescoes in banks, churches, public buildings, and homes of wealthy people. He did murals in the Congressional Library in Washington, D.C. in 1904 and in 1908 and 1909. In 1914, he came to America to live, bringing his family and settled in Louisville, Kentucky. He opened up the firm of Leber Brothers, specializing in portrait paintings, religious paintings, murals, and frescoes. After 10 years with his brother died, and Guido organized the firm of Leber and Mirabel. I hope I pronounced that right. Mr. Mirabel was a well-known artist from Italy. Before coming to America, his greatest ambition was to copy The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci on canvas. This he did from 1910 to 1912. That's some dedication right there. The canvas was hung on the inside wall of a barn on their farm, where the painting took place for years. When finished, it measured 12 feet by 22 feet. This painting, along with others, was brought to America in 1914. During the Depression years of 1929, after the death of Mr. Leber, his family sold some of his best works. No records are available as to who bought them or prices paid. Guido was married to the former Emma Borganova, as they had seven children: Mary, Robert, Adele, Rose, Martina, and twins Isolina and Mario. Guido Leber, being a patron of the arts, reared his family in the same tradition, having them to major in art, music, and classical dancing. He required all his children to speak the English language exclusively and properly after living in America. Guido Leber was a mild-mannered man and enjoyed the opera. Except to take wine at his meals, he never drank and only smoked occasionally, using a long cigarette holder. It is noted that some of his paintings are signed Guy Leber, being his translation for Guido. In America, he used the English translation exclusively. There are hundreds of Leber's paintings scattered throughout Europe and more so in the United States, from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles and from Cincinnati to Houston. Many of his best paintings he gave friends. One of his best friends was Miss Speed, a wealthy lady from Louisville who built the Speed Memorial Art Museum located in Louisville, Kentucky. Miss Speed was still living. She had on exhibition for 3 months my ability to read. The life-size painting on canvas of The Last Supper. Some other great paintings by Mr. Leber are owned by Joseph and Joseph Architects in Louisville, Kentucky. Mr. Leber and his family resided at 2852 West, where he died on January 18th, 1927. All right, should I read the back?
That's okay. Just tell them that the painting is at St. Matthew's.
So the painting is in St. Matthew's Baptist Church today. I don't know if you can see that because my background's blurred. But,
show them a picture if they can see.
okay. So this is him. So this poem was milked out of me by my mom because of school assignment.
God bless moms.
Yeah. It's a secret hour. It's kind of scary. So this is a poem I wrote when I was in 5th grade. I was 11. It's called Sunset We Honor. From the edge of the horizon it sinks, the bright white ball of heat cherish. When the strikes 8, it is only fate that our precious ball shall set. The sun serves well, but it always has fell when the moon rears its head. The sunset darkens the mountains and rains, the farms, the fields, the tundra and plains. As we say to the humble sun, we say to ourselves, seize the day, everyone. We say goodnight to the sky's bright blue. As the sunset progresses, it shall subdue the mesmerizing color we see every day. Forget the blue, here comes the orange, as colors open and close as if like a door hinge. The cirrus clouds then come and greet us as they come every night, every time that they meet us. All right.
Very nice. Very nice. And if you will send us a copy, send me a copy of that again, I'll put it, if it's okay with you, I'll post it in our Evite so everyone else that couldn't be with us today could read it.
Okay.
Okay. And you have something else for us too, right?
Yes. I have another poem that I wrote about Italy because this is an Italian Heritage Festival. Only 12 lines long.
Okay.
So not big. All right, so sort of an abrupt ending, like it seems like it would go on, but it just stops.
Okay.
So, all right, so it's just titled Italy. The Mediterranean boot, we say, is small in size today, but little do some know how far its soldiers went away. They'd conquered all of Europe, a wonder to behold, 1,500 years ago an empire would unfold. This vast land was no Rome, its power known to all, but as time passed over many an era, the tower would then fall. I don't know why I wrote it about ancient Rome, that's just all I could think of at the time.
That's what came into your head. Those are good thoughts. Very good thoughts. Is there any questions or anything for comments for Benjamin? Do you have anything for him?
Just a lot of very kind words. That was really awesome. It's always nice to see that from the young ones. Dean said incredible. Shakita said, so proud of you, Evan. Julia would like to know, we can go ahead and unmute her again. And anyone else that would like to be unmuted, let me know.
You're a very, very talented young man. As Diane had said, I'm the library manager at Clarksburg, and I can vision a book of yours in the library. Do you plan to write a book or a children's book or in your future? I would love to have one of your pieces in the library. Do you plan to do that or two things?
Yes, I do plan to write a book.
A children's book, or you going to go for the big ticket and do a novel, or what's your plans?
I mean, like, I was gonna go big and do a novel. I've written stuff before, class, but I'm not very proud of them.
But it's better than you think. I bet you they're better than you think.
Oh, they are.
Diana,
And Evan, another thought, you could just do a book of poetry, put all your poems in a book with some of your artwork as well. Those are nice coffee table books.
Yeah,
Yeah, my Nana made a book for me called The Writings of Evan Leber. I haven't
There you
written
go. There's
anything
a
in it
start.
yet.
yeah, Evan, I got to tell you, your wording in that first poem is great. I mean, you painted a picture with your words. It was fantastic. I mean, that was really, really good. And I'm a graphic design major from Fairmont State University, and I'm also a gamer. So when you said Mario, I went Luigi. I didn't know if you caught that, but I knew what you were referring to.
Yeah.
we also know those guys, Dino. So
Yes, of course. We're all related, Stephen.
yeah, we're over. Diane, I think anything, then let's make sure that we have a copyright in his name under the text that we publish it, so it's protected.
Mom, are you listening to that?
Yes.
So anything you send, make sure he has his name, his copyright under it, and that way it's protected. And because it'll go public, and you're going to run into this if you haven't already in many other arenas, not just the Italian Festival one. But I think the work is good. I think it's strong. I think keep at it. Don't throw away anything you write, even if you don't like it. Leave it and come back to it. Trust me.
Yeah.
In the music writing business, and Miles probably could say the same thing about something that his wife has done there, that you leave stuff, it's like clay. You leave it, you let it sit, you come back, you rework it, you think about it. It may not mean anything to you right now, but later on it might be, well, you know what, maybe I should have done something with this. So just keep it in a maybe file. That's my advice. But all the stuff is very strong. I'm glad to hear you doing it.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
let me just add something. What you think is bad, someone else will think is a masterpiece.
Exactly.
So as artists and writers, we're our own worst critics. And I'm telling you, you're like, this isn't that good. It will become somebody's favorite piece. So to Stephen's point, don't throw it away. The important thing is that you're just creating, just keep creating. And that's, again, dude, I'm sure what you think is not that good, someone will be like, this is amazing. So don't ever throw it away.
Evan, if we had the golden buzzer, I'd hit it for you today.
Well, I mean, Mr. Skinner, they do say one man's trash is another man's treasure.
There you go.
Exactly.
I love
Exactly.
I love this guy.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us before we sign off and move on?
Well, I just want to say, thank all of you for the kind words.
Well, you're very welcome. You did a great job. And now that you're not going to be nervous in front of talking to anyone anymore, you can do this more often, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though we haven't had any pasta, we still don't bite.
Right, right.
Julia.
Yeah, there you
I'm
go.
gonna tell
Our
you
next
something,
t-shirt.
I see in another 10, 20 years, another poet laureate. I mean, just from listening to this young man, it's not gonna surprise me to say in another few years, I knew him when he read at the Forum. To see another poet laureate, I mean, it's just, wow. The only
Mr.
thing I
Mark
can say
Harshman,
is,
move over.
Yeah, move
Yeah,
over, Mark. Here comes Evan. Very
Oh,
good.
Yeah.
Very, very, very good.
And
Yeah.
Evan, with any of your works, especially the ones that you question if they're good or not, always have a couple of special people in your life that you really trust to give you honest feedback and caring feedback about your work. And so that you can see what mom's a good one. I use my mom. She edits all of my work, including the one with stories that to this day that appear in the magazine. My mom is my best proofreader. She always has been. It's true. And as you find friends that have care about your work, and whenever you question, give it to them, and give it to them with the idea that no matter what they say about it, you'll learn from it and you'll grow from it. I mean, the worst experience in the world is to think your work is really, really good, and then go into another class of writers and realize it's not. That's much worse to experience. Definitely the handful of people that you trust will be very important to you and to always growing with anything you write.
And don't be afraid ever to reach out to different people. I'll tell you a quick story, Evan. One of the books I wrote has a picture of the Statue of Liberty on front, and it is, let's see this. And I sent this book to the Statue of Liberty and asked them if they were interested in selling it. And I was very surprised when they wrote back and ordered 30 copies signed to be sold in the Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty gift shop. Just reach out to different people. The most they can say is no.
right.
Thanks again for being with us, sweetheart. We wish you well.
No problem. And yeah, Mark Harshman, I remember having lunch with him. He's a really smart man.
Yeah.
He's a very smart man. He's a very kind man as well. We've done a lot of book
Yes.
signings together. Yeah. Will you take care of everyone in Martinsburg? You started homeschooling already?
I start the 7th.
The 7th. Well, good luck, Mom and Evan. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you all
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
Stephen, do you want to grace us with another song before we move on?
Yeah, I think everybody's talking about their mothers. So I think I'll do one called Mama.
Oh, no, that means tears.
Well,
And I have mascara on today. Yeah.
what Italian event is not? I mean, so the things Italians do well are cry, cook pasta, cut hair, and sing opera. So pick one.
And eat. We eat well.
And eat.
And manja.
And when the evening shadows fall and the lovely day is through, and with longing I recall the years I spent with you, Mama. I miss the days when you were here to guide me, Mama. Those happy days when you were here beside me, safe in the glow of your love, sent from the heavens above. Nothing can ever replace the warmth of your tender embrace. Until the day that we're together once more, I'll live in these memories. Until the day that we're together once more. Mama, solo per
te la mia canzone vola. Mamma, sarà con me, tu non sarai più sola. Quanto ti voglio bene, queste parole d'amore che ti sospira il mio cuore, forse non s'usano più. Mamma, ma la canzone mia più bella sei tu la vita, e per la vita non ti lascio mai più. Mamma, oh mamma, e per la vita non ti lascio mai
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Stephen and I have a sister, Anna. I think she's on. If so, I'm gonna, if you would unmute her if she's on, and she could tell you a little bit about an upcoming event she has going on. Anna, you still with us?
Hi, yeah, I'm here. Let's see.
Anna has a group of dancers that were not able to perform at the festival this year, but they worked up a little something to be shared in the future.
Hi, let me turn some lights on here so we can see like a real stage. Hi, this is my husband, Greg, and he's the one who usually runs our sound. Yeah, we weren't able to perform. We usually would come tomorrow for Allegro Dance Company and perform on the main stage. However, Allegro dancers have gotten together and we are videotaping a brand new show called Siamo Pronti, which means we are ready. I guess nobody else was, but we were. And so tomorrow we are going to be videotaping here outdoors and sharing it online with all of you later this week. So allegrodancecompany.net is where you can see our brand new show, including brand new choreography, brand new things that we've never done before. And we've been around for 28 years. So we still have some really cool things, tricks up our sleeves. So we can't wait to perform. And all of you can see it later this week.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Greg, I'm drinking Great Lakes.
Oh, got the Dortmunder.
Yes, Greg and Anna were visited Cleveland a couple weeks ago, and we had a great afternoon. And I introduced Greg to the local Cleveland brewery. So.
And Dean, I think I'll be coming back to Cleveland in the spring at their Italian American Museum, maybe to perform and do some other events.
Let me know. Yep. Please.
And Miles, I will message you later about doing some information about Italian dances that I've researched from Italy. We'll talk
Great.
soon.
All right. Thank you, guys. So since Stephen got to sing and Anna got to say her piece, I guess it's my turn. You didn't know this was a family show, right? I am an author and I've written several Italian American children's books. And I'll tell you just briefly a little bit about them because the last piece I've written, I'd like to share with you. The first thing I wrote was, I Don't Want to Sit in the Front Row Anymore. Briefly, it was self-published. I had no idea what I was doing. And it's a memoir about the loss of both of our parents within 7 months of each other. The drawing on the front is a drawing by a fellow classmate, Mr. Mike Purnell from he went to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
He drew a picture of my parents' house for me, and I ended up putting it on the front of this book. It's a short read, and it's not all sad, but it is a very, very true story. And Lulu.com is the publishing company that I used for this book. About a year after that book was published, someone named Phyllis Moore, I don't know if you're on here or not, but I was encouraged by Mrs. Phyllis Moore to write a story about growing up Italian. I had no idea how to write a book for children. about growing up Italian. But this little book is also a true story. It includes recipes, but you have to get past the fact that there are family pictures in the front and family pictures in the back. Those recipes were not easy to come by, but I did manage to pry some of them away from my relatives to publish this book. This little book, a little while later, when I was doing signings and whatnot, a friend of mine pointed out to us that in the eyes of this book, she saw angels. I don't know if you can see that, or if you have a copy of this book, that you're able to see that. It was something that I didn't see until she pointed out to me. My publisher didn't see it. My illustrator had no idea that those ended up being in the eyes of this book. So there's a little angel wings in the eyes of the book. And this is called Spaghetti and Meatballs, Growing Up Italian. Not long after that, after our parents had passed, I was cleaning out some of their things and came across a Christmas card list. And in this Christmas card list at the bottom, for some reason, there was a little blurb about a bunny named Joby. And my mom always wanted to be a children's book author, and she didn't pursue it. But this little blurb of hers I took as a sign that I should continue on with this book. So this is about a family of rabbits. Their name is Riapoli, which means a wild hare or a wild rabbit in Italian. And it's called Hopping to America, A Rabbit's Tale of Immigration. So this little family of bunnies travel from Italy to West Virginia, and they end up at a festival, not the Italian festival, supposedly, but a Bonaparte festival. And they just happen to have a band in this festival named Amicis. And I'll let you all guess who this one is on the keyboard. This little bunny on the keyboard likes chocolate, which is also true of our Stephen Pishner, and he always is wearing chocolate on all of his fur throughout the story. In the back of each of this is a series. This is the first in a series. In the back of each of the books, there's an education page. This education page happens to have a glossary with all of the Italian words that I use throughout the book. And it even has a pronunciation guide for the rabbit's last name. So that's first in the series. The second in the series came along, Hopping to America, A Rabbit's Tale of La Befana. I won't get into that story. We're just not ready for Christmas yet, so we just won't even talk about it. But this is the second in the story. This story touches a little bit about bullying. In the back are Christmas customs and traditions, some of the ones that are used in Italy. And there's our version of Stregonona on the front. The third in the series, and I believe this is the one, or was this one? Miles, which one did you put a blurb on? I think it was maybe, oh, it's the next one. It's the next one. Okay. This is third in the series. This is the Hopping to America, A Rabbit's Tale of a Wedding. And in this story, we touch a little bit and talk a little bit about adoption. And the bunnies, same family of bunnies, same family of rabbits, but now they have begun to get married and multiply. So this is the third in the series. And it talks about, like I said, weddings, customs, and traditions in the back. There is an activity book that goes along with that series. It has puzzles, games, and even a little song that I actually wrote on the back, and I'm still waiting for music to come from Stephen Pishner to add to it.
Come on, Stephen, what's up?
I'm on it.
There's a song to it in the back. So this is a little activity book that goes along with the series. About a year and a half ago, I was inspired to write a story for children about the Feast of the Seven Fishes. There is another story of the Feast of the Seven Fishes, and Mr. Robert Tennell wrote it, and there's even a movie produced and that from that book. So I thought the children need something as well. So this one is called The Christmas Feast, A Fishy Tale. And this is the one that Miles was kind enough to put a little blurb on the back for me. I would like to read you the dedication and one other page out of this book. This book is dedicated to Father Chris Turner and a memory of Father Benedict Kappa. I would also like to dedicate this book in memory of a very special uncle, Joseph Alessio. This will be the first Christmas Eve that we will not be able to share our talk, hugs, and special Italian foods. My family continues to celebrate each Christmas Eve with the Feast of the Seven Fishes. At the time of this printing, our world as we know it is in crisis. I hope this story brings to light the true meaning of hope, family, and a community coming together to help each other in a great time of need. Bon Natale. All three of these books are published with Headline Books, and my illustrator is Miss Ashley Belote. This one also contains a couple of recipes. There's the recipe for the bacala, or the cod, and the calamari in the back of this. And there's a little explanation also of the Feast of the Seven Fishes. This was a paperback, and again, a short read. This just won an award for Reader's Favorite. It won a silver award last week for Reader's Favorite, and they considered it a preteen book. However, I think with the illustrations, it can be for any age. And this I presented at the Zoom session with the Italian Festival last year. During the pandemic, our publisher reached out to all the authors and asked if anyone was interested in writing something to be included in a collaboration book called Voices of the Pandemic. I agreed to do that. And my story's in here, which I will share with you. But I also want to let you know that if you're interested in any of these books, my website is dianapishnerwalker.com. And you may be particularly interested in this one. It has a lot of contributors and some students that also contributed their stories about the pandemic. Two of particular interest, Mr. Joe Coleman, who is was a singer with the Platters. I know I'm dating myself, but some of you will know who that is. He I'll put a story in here, and also Mrs. Dreama Denver, who is the Gilligan's wife. Her story is included in here as well. So I would like to share with you mine. It's very short. And since my series is called Hopping to America, the title of this is Hopping from House to House. Pandemic 2020. My only saving grace throughout this pandemic is that my ancestors also lived through a pandemic 100 years ago. If they survived, I'm hopeful that I can too. However, granted, a pandemic is one big chaotic mess. My own big chaotic mess is the fact that my husband and I bought a new home and sold our home of 35 years in the midst of it. I learned that emotions run high during a pandemic. Wow, and cleaning out a house full of memories add to it. We laughed and cried to the point that some of us in my family felt COVID-19 was attacking. We found a beautiful new home in the same city on a level lot, meticulously landscaped, and whose street name bared my own first name. It was meant to be. We do live on Diana Drive. The buyers required a loan that forced us to jump through many hoops. There were things like replacing doors with fire retardant doors and painting with fire retardant paint, both of which took weeks to get in stock. Again, thanks to COVID-19. Roof workers, delivery people, bank appraisers, and inspectors, to name a few, came to my door one by one, fully attired in masks. Of course, upon each departure, I brought out the Lysol and Clorox wipes. It was to the point that when the realtor showed our home, I left boxes of latex gloves and notes begging our visitors to please use during the tour of our house. When our home was finally ready for purchase, there was a matter of hiring movers and Jump Guy Gary. Before any donations could be made or furniture could be moved, there were rules and regulations to be followed as to when and how all could be of service to helping us move. On top of it all, our closings were scheduled within hours of each other. We weren't allowed inside the bank, so paper signing and money distributions were handled through the window bank tellers and masked legal assistants in parking lots of law offices. One of the closings had to be a Zoom closing. We closed on our new home in a real estate office in front of a laptop, which I brought. We were instructed to angle the laptop so that the notary on the other side of the screen could officially witness our signatures. After all of the legal documents were signed, we, hubby and me, took them back to said lawyer's parking lot and again waited for the masked legal assistant to come to our car to retrieve them. All in all, it was truly an ordeal, but so worth the wait. We are now in our beautiful new home without many visitors to show it off to due to COVID-19 restrictions. Remember, this was written last year. Those who come bearing gifts, I can't hug or sit near to safely social distance, and again, most in masks. We can't have those long indoor winded coffee chats. Instead, it's a quick outdoor chat. Before the pandemic came into our lives, all I would think about was a huge housewarming party with family and friends, apparently maybe a year before that happens. For now, my children and grandchildren come to visit as well as my regular daily Amazon delivery guy. My priest is coming to bless our new home. I hope that blessing carries throughout my family and to our new neighbors to continue to be safe. We are truly blessed more than others at this point in this hot mess everyone is experiencing. We will keep busy getting settled in, but all the while yearning for some normalcy, to not be fearful, to not think that every sneeze will carry us to death's door. My husband works as a sales rep in another state, so not only do I worry about the number of corona-infected folks in our state, but the one he travels to daily as well. He brings home the groceries, so I don't have to go out, which means, well, at times, putting together a meal takes great creativity. We haven't been to church for months. We now watch a mass live on Facebook. I'm Italian and Catholic, so mass and pasta Sundays go hand in hand. Therefore, I feel like I'm experiencing withdrawal on so many levels. I'm an author, not had a book signing in many months. My monthly book club has never had the chance to discuss the 764-page book I prided myself on finishing back in February. It is now July. My grandchildren eat, sleep, and drink sports. We've not attended a game since February. Now there is the fear of what will happen when it's time for them to return to school. This grandma wants everyone to live in a bubble. Moving into a new home hasn't been the only change for me and my family. The whole world has changed and sometimes gone a little mad, so it seems. We will survive the changes, the fear, the sickness, the loneliness, and replace it soon, I hope, with smiles and hugs. This pandemic has taught us many lessons and opened our eyes to appreciate everything big or small. But for now, I am grateful to once again be home sweet home. Home is wherever this crazy bunch known as ma famille are, and where my story begins and ends. Again, there's a lot of great stories in here. You may be interested in picking up a copy of this. You can also get copies on Amazon and headlinebooks.com. So that's my Italian American children's books and others, and I hope you enjoy them. If you have any questions for me, I would be more than happy to answer before we go on to Dean.
Man, Donna, you've done a lot. Good for you.
I was busy.
A lot, man. That's fantastic.
It's within 7 years. It was kind
you.
of one a year was coming out. I've kind of slowed down a little bit now.
Good for you. Good for you.
Is there going to be another bunny book in the future?
Who knows? Who knows?
Oh, come on, you can share. Just a little,
Nothing-
little snippet of it.
Nothing as of yet.
Nothing as of yet.
Yeah.
You know the bunnies have to have babies. You can't just stop with the wedding.
Yeah, babies of their own. Well, thanks for listening to those. And again, it's DianaPishnerWalker.com. I sign and mail. You know, I usually make one trip to the post office once a week with a little pile, and my mailman goes, books. So, Stephen, do you want one more song in before we talk to Dean, or do you want to wait to the end?
It's Dean's call.
Dean,
Wow.
you ready to talk?
I'm ready to talk, but I always want to hear Stephen. I'd rather hear some more music from Stephen.
One more song, and then we'll let Dean do his thing.
Okay, so this last piece that I'm going to do here comes from our CD, which is also on, some of it's also on iTunes. And the CD is Amici in America. And this is a song that was made popular by Neil Diamond. called America. I'm going to use some of my tracks from the actual recording and sing along with it. Here we go. Far, we was traveling far, without a home, not without a star. Free, oh, we want to be free. We hold on close, hang on to a dream. All the boats and all the planes, they're coming to America, never looking back again. They're coming to America. So it seems so far away. We're traveling land today, in the eye of the storm, in the eye of the storm. Home to new and shining rays, make our bed and we'll say our grace. Freedom's like burning warm, freedom's like burning warm. Everywhere around the world, they're coming to America. Every time that flag's unfurled, they're coming to America. Got a dream to take them there. They're coming to America. Got a dream to come to share. They're coming to America. They're coming to America. They're coming to America. They're coming to America. They're coming to America today. 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 My country to be today. Sweet land of liberty today. Oh, we are free today. Oh, we are free today. 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 They're coming to America. Today. They're coming to America. They're coming to America. Today. They're coming to America. Today. 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 Today.
Thank you. I know he meant to sing Hopping to America, but we'll let it slide.
I'm
Looking like a true big
tonight.
sister.
I'm doing more music tonight. I'll work it in tonight at 8 o'clock on my Facebook page, and tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I'm doing about an hour and a half of Italian music and more, and we'll work something in with.
I thought it was great, Stephen, just to let you know. I thought it was great.
Thanks.
Always, always. Mr. Dean Skinner,
Yeah.
author of supernatural thrillers. His latest book, Healed, remained in Amazon's #1 spot in new release, 1 hour mystery, thriller and suspense short reads for 8 consecutive days. Wow. and currently lives on Amazon's top 100 list for biblical fiction. Dean is also an artist who has created over 100 large format abstract portraits, has had his work displayed in galleries and exhibits throughout the US and UK over the past 8 years. Dean is from Bridgeport, West Virginia, graduated from Notre Dame High School here in Clarksburg, and now resides in Cleveland, Ohio with his wife, 2 children, and giant fluffy sheepdoodle. To see Dean's artwork, please visit Instagram.com/Dean Skinner. Dean Skinner, tell us about your work.
Yes, so thank you. This is to Miles' point, this is quite an honor. I was very excited to do this last night. I was like a kid before Christmas. Couldn't wait for today. So thank you, everybody. I texted the first 30 minutes to my managing editor, who's also one of my best friends. I'm like, oh crap, I was supposed to prepare something today and I didn't. I said, I feel like I'm in college again. I'm like, test? There's a test today? But I did. I told Diana that I was going to bring a couple art pieces in. I do have those in the living room, so I'm going to give you guys a quick tour of my house. So these are 2 pieces I was going to bring in today for the festival. A lot of my books are about the battle between light and dark. So these were 2 pieces that
Wow.
I prepared to bring in. You know, to me, it's Savior and Satan, light and dark. So all of my books are about that battle between good and evil. To Diane's point, I feel very blessed, very fortunate. I have a strong faith, and I feel like that God gives us all gifts. And I went through a very difficult time 10 years ago and found God and refound art. I used to draw as a child and never thought I was good enough, and found art. And then a few years ago, went through another difficult time and started writing. So I feel like if we just listen to you know, God's voice, you know, He has great things in store for us. And I'm very blessed and very fortunate. And I can't believe I'm in this forum with these talented writers, because I don't even consider myself a writer. So thank you again. My last book, Healed, to Diana's point, is doing very well. It was the bestseller in 6 categories for actually over 3 weeks, and I just can't believe it. I also did my first book is called Broken. My second book is Paths, and if you read all of them, they're short, 45-minute, hour-and-a-half reads, available anywhere ebooks are sold. But being from Harrison County, you'll see a lot of references to back home. Broken, there's a chapter about the old A&P parking lot, you know, the old A&P store off of Bridgeport Hill. Paths, there's one chapter that is exactly my senior year in high school. I even talk about Coach Lopez and Notre Dame and playing against RW. And then Healed, there's a character called Father Harry, which is Father Harry from All Saints Church. And I talk about All Saints and Sister Frances Clare, which was my first grade teacher who scared the crap out of me, but she's in there as well. So if you're from the area, you'll notice some little nods there. My books, I grew up, at one time I wanted to be a special effects makeup artist. So I have this little twist of horror in there. And I've had folks say it's like your books are written by Stephen King and M. Night Shyamalan, which is, I'm not comparing myself to them. But I like to, when you get to the end of my book and there's a big reveal, I want folks like, oh my God, I didn't see that coming. I want to go back and reread it and connect all the dots and so forth. So I've had folks say that, which is an incredible, again, incredible compliment. And I've had folks say, what's the difference between writing and painting? And I could tell you the exact opposites. When I paint, it is a lot of thinking, a lot of what I'm going to do, and maybe play around with some sketches, buying paints, preparing the canvas. If I'm using different materials, there's a lot of prep work. And then when it comes time to painting, it's just free and it's natural and it just happens. When I write, it's the exact opposite. I just write, it's free, it's natural. And I'm sure the other writers, when it comes to editing, it's like, wow, this is really hard. My first book, Broken, when I turned it over to a proofer, my managing editor goes, be prepared for a lot of marks. And it came back all marked up. And I was like, wow, this is hard. This is really hard. And a couple of times I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. This is really tough. So it's the exact opposite. But again, I battle with depression. I've been battling with, I battle depression and anxiety. And I feel like that God has given me the gift of a very creative mind. And just like any superhero, you can either use your power for good or bad. And so whenever both painting and writing are a definite outlet for me that has really helped me a lot. So I'm very fortunate to be here, very blessed to be here. If it's okay, Dan, I'll put a link in the chat for Healed. I marked it down to 99 cents for this week. So if somebody wants to,
Oh, wow. Okay.
it's a whole $1. So yeah, again, that's again, I appreciate being here. It's I'm very.
So there are three titles, correct?
There's three titles. There's Broken, and there's Paths, and there's Healed.
Okay.
All three are ebooks. Broken is available in audiobook and ebook. I've had folks say you should put all three together in some type of story, which I may do. But all three of them are available: Amazon, Apple, Barnes and Noble, wherever ebooks are sold. And I've priced them. I'm very fortunate. I tell folks I'm a closet artist, I'm a closet writer, so this isn't my full-time gig. So I'd rather just folks, see my work and read my work. So I price them very, I think they're $1.99 at full price. But again, they're short stories. So they're 45 minutes to an hour and a half. So they're short stories. But I'll put a link in the chats. And again, if you put in Dean Skinner and any book platform, I should hopefully come up.
Great. I'm so, not to be condescending, but I'm so proud of you for doing this.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
Actually putting something on paper and getting it out there for other people to see it. It's a big step.
I appreciate it. It's been I love it. And Evan, I can tell you that again, as an artist and writer, just the most important thing is just keep working, just keep doing the work. And I'm a big fan of Stephen Pressfield's War of Art, and it's a lot about the creative battles. And one of the things in there is the artist doesn't sit down and say, this is my next masterpiece. The artist just paints, and the masterpiece comes from that. So you just got to keep writing, just got to keep working. And again, there have been many times where I'm almost done with the painting. I'm like, this is terrible. Like, what are you doing? And then sure enough, someone's like, oh my God, that's my favorite one. I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. So you're kind of doing it for, just to keep doing the work.
And the nice part about having both of those talents, whereas I have to pay an illustrator, for all of my drawings, and it's expensive. Illustrator, that's how they make their money. It's expensive. Whereas you could put them both together and have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I like that. I like, all my covers and stuff I've done, which is kind of fun. It's kind of fun to do that. So
great.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I wish we went in the parade this morning. We had tons of candy.
Yeah, I know.
We were going to ride together in the parade.
I told Diana, because Stephen has invited me down to the festival before, and I've got to show my art. I always want to be that car where folks are like, oh my God, they're raining candy on us. Like, I never want to run out. So I was prepared with 2 big Lowe's buckets of candy. Like, I'm like, we're going to be the car where folks can be like, that's the car.
Maybe next year.
Next year for sure.
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
With all these bestsellers, in the depression thing, you need to pray for like a depression once a week. It's gonna start paying the bills.
Yeah, it is. I've enjoyed the journey. I like the journey, and I feel like that. And again, I'll get off the pulpit here, but it's God can take beauty, make beauty out of ashes. So you may be going through a tough time, but if you ask God for help, and He can channel that into good things. So
you can choose. It's either obstacle or opportunity.
Right.
And we've learned in this pandemic.
Right.
Definitely. Well, I want to thank you personally for being here with us and agreeing to log on and talk to everybody today. And Benjamin, are there any comments or questions for Dean?
I think so. Evan just raised his hand.
Yes. These aren't my words or my mom's. So she's a teacher and she says this book, The Artist Way, she says this is her homework.
I'll go to Amazon right now. And I can tell you that if you go to Amazon and do Stephen Prestel's The War of Art, it's this big, which is a guy, I can read about, but it is, he wrote The Legend of Badger Vance. And he talks about how when it comes to creativity, he personifies resistance. That's something that stops you from producing great work. And I'm not kidding you. I've probably given away a couple dozen copies of that. It's a great book, and it talks about. One of the things, Evan, I wanted to tell you is one of his quotes is, "The counterfeiter is wildly confident, where the true artist and writer is wildly self-confident." So the fact that you're like, I don't know if it's good enough, that means you're a true writer, means you're a true artist, because you're very conscious about it. Where someone who's not is like, oh, my work is great. And it's like, oh, is it really? So I tell your mom, thank you. I will totally get that book.
Right.
I have a question for you, Dean.
Yeah.
You talk about you've always had a creative mind. And then you talked about when you were young, you were painting and then you didn't think it was good enough, so you let that go. How would you describe your life through the moments where you've given up art and not had art in it, versus your life when it's in it, in any capacity? It doesn't have to be your novel's doing really well, on Amazon, which is awesome. I just got it actually, but yeah, but just the lack of art versus your life with art being incorporated in a main
night and day. Somebody said, God, don't you wish you would have found art sooner? I'm like, no, I would have blown it. We've done something stupid. I mean, the fact that I found it late in life, I can tell you, and my wife mentioned this, our daughter Elise, she's like, when she gets upset, she paints. She's like, she's just like you. So it is my studio downstairs, which is like a basement with like a refrigerator. And, I have little sticky notes like, you belong here. This is what you do. And it is just, it's a world of difference. And I think the benefit of being older is you kind of realize what really makes you come alive, what makes you happy. And I would love to retire and just paint and write all day. I would love to do that. So huge difference. I've had the opportunity in my professional career, work in ad agencies and this and that. And so I am creative, but it's not the same. So to have this is for me, and I'm doing this either to make the world a better place, or it's a huge difference. I cannot imagine my life right now without writing or art. And that's a great question, Miles. And I think everybody has that. Like everybody has that thing they used to want to do when they were little, but then they heard they're not, don't do that. That's silly. That's that. I think that's just part of, in my world, that's the enemy trying to keep down the gifts that God has given us. So you just got to say, I'm not going to listen to that voice. I'm going to do what's in my heart. So great question. Thank you for asking that.
Anyone else have anything, Benjamin?
I don't think so. Fran just made a comment that Denise Jardina will be having an online reading from Storming Heaven on Tuesday, September 21st.
Okay. She's supposed to be at the West Virginia Book Festival if that happens this year. It's in the end of October, but I haven't heard if so far it's a go, so we'll see.
Hey Miles, and my uncle is the editor of Coal People magazine in like Charleston, West. I should connect you two, because you probably have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, especially my labor relations background, what coal miners went through to get our society to where it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a perfect weekend to talk about something like that too.
Yep.
But yeah.
And Miles, who'd have thought you would be in coal mining country here after that article you published in West Virginia?
West Virginia, I've made a few trips with my wife. Long story short, she came right before the pandemic on a K-1 fiance visa from Germany. We met in Rome, Italy. We could save the whole story for another time, but we've made some trips, through the pandemic, relatively locally, because we're coming from, DC, Tacoma Park, Maryland. And so it's not too long of a trip to, say, Harper's Ferry or, other parts of West Virginia. And every time we go there, she falls in love with it. She's like, can we move here? Can we move here?
Oh, wow.
Can we move here? And I'm like, well, we can't move everywhere, but we can visit as much as you like, because, and we bring our dog, which is, we go on long walks through West Virginia with our dog. And one of these days, though, I'll have to take her whitewater rafting. But the nature's just incredible in West Virginia, and it's so close, so it makes for
well, that ergo almost heaven, West Virginia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Stephen, would you like to do one more song before we close out? And I would like for Benjamin to be able to say a few words too. So Benjamin, do you want to give us a little closing remarks?
I can. The first thing I want to say is, as bad as sad and bad and upset as I'm feeling that the street event was canceled this weekend, I was telling Diana I wasn't sure if I would have been able to make this event in person or on Zoom, because I know Stephen knows this, but and Diana too, we're pretty much all running around the whole festival grounds. Each limb of our body is in a different part of the festival. So I was hoping to pop in and say hi and meet you all, but I was able now to attend the entire thing, and it was actually very, very entertaining. I just like Miles just said, I just went on and got Dean's book. I have a slew of Diana's books. I read them with my nephews all the time, so they're always nice. I get to bring them out on the holidays as a nice reminder on that. Yes, we are definitely hoping to 2022. I'm afraid to say that too much because we were saying the same thing last year this time. But I do feel like this was the right move, and this event turned out wonderfully. The whole session today has been recorded, so it will be posted, and you all will be able to revisit that if you didn't catch anything or just wanted to see what others said and how we interacted. But awesome. I'm looking forward to next year's Authors Forum and finding out what you all do in the meantime.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Dean,
you.
thank you so much for being with us today.
Great.
Totally enjoyed it. Just get the visit. If nothing, we never have these times.
I'm saving that candy for next year. We are going to make it, we are going to just shower kids with candy.
There you go.
That's
There you go.
Italian.
And we'll have a new book for next year, right? There you
yes.
go.
Yes.
Miles, thank you. Evan, thank you. Stephen, thanks for the music. If no one else has any other comments, we'll close with a song and say arrivederci.
Okay. Here we go.
Good day.
Thank you, everybody.
Mi sono innamorato di Marina, una ragazza mora ma carina, ma lei non può sapere del mio amore, cosa farò con questo suo cuore. Un giorno incontrai sola sola, il cuore mi batteva mille all'ora, quando gli chiesi che la volevo amare, mi diede un bacio e la confusio. Ah, Marina, 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 ti voglio più presto sposare. Marina, 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 ti voglio più presto sposare. Oh mia bella amore, non mi lasciare, non mi devi rovinare. Oh no, 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 no. Oh mio bel amore, non mi lasciare, non mi devo rovinare. Oh no, 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 no. Oh mia bella amore, non la mi lasciare, non mi deve rovinare. Oh no, 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 no. Oh mia bella amore, non la mi lasciare, non mi deve rovinare. Oh no, 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 no.
Can you even eat it Vriti for me, please? Killing me.
I'm going to try and get my wife to make some today.
Killing me. Killing me.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dan. This is great.
Thank you.
Honored to be a part of this. Thank you, guys.
Ciao.
Evan, keep kicking butt.
Thank you.
You too.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye, Miles.
Thank you, everybody. Ciao,
Bye,
ciao.
Diana. Bye,
Bye,
Dean.
honey.
Bye, Stephen.
Arrivederci.
It's like one of those Italian goodbyes. They take 2 hours.
Arrivederci. Ciao.
Pizza.
Bye, Ben.
Bye.